Welcome to a very special episode here at 10 Degrees Warmer, where I'm going to be joined by my beautiful mother. She has been traveling with us now for the past, is it 9 months now or so? She's been a little bit camera shy about being in our videos with us. She pops up now and then, but people have a lot of questions and have been asking us to do this video and kind of let her give you her perspective of what it's like to travel long term and to travel with us. So, how are you, Mom?
I'm great. I'm excited.
So, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? Who are you?
Okay. I'm Peggy. I had an opportunity to be able to travel with my son. I'm retired and a widow. And when Rob gave me this opportunity to travel with he and David, I was more than excited and able to come out and go with them. And I am so grateful for the opportunity.
Okay, so I have a whole bunch of questions here because we asked so on Facebook, if people had questions, and you guys really delivered and came up with a lot of questions. So why did you start traveling with us? Like, was it hard for me to convince you to come?
No, it was not hard at all. It was a great idea. It was a new idea, and it took me a little while to get used to it and to figure out what I had to do in order to get ready and to be able to do it. So that was a little bit of a new mindset for me, but I'm just so glad I was able to, that I'm healthy enough still, and that I was able to do it financially.
What was the preparation like? Because once we asked you to come with us, it was still a couple of months. Like, we were over in Asia and we had a cruise planned, so it took us a little while to get home. What was that preparation like for you? Like, what did you have to do?
So I needed to figure out my health insurance. I needed to figure out my possessions, what to do with them. I had to purge a lot. I had to figure out all of my children and how to work out the logistics of being gone from all of them for so long.
Let's talk about the family. So I am the oldest. I have 5 younger brothers and sisters, and we have how many grandkids now?
13.
13. I knew she would have that right on the top of her head. Have they been supportive of you being gone, or do they have any concerns?
So my children are, yes, supportive. They want me happy and active and to have a good life. I did have a little bit of pushback, especially 2 of my grandchildren are young, and I didn't want to miss their growing up or important events in their lives. So that was a little bit of a consideration with my youngest son, who had my youngest grandchildren. But by and large, all of them are very supportive of this trip.
And I think some of that is because I kind of paved the way, where we've been traveling like this for so long, so it wasn't new. And do you remember back, 20 some years ago when I went on my first backpacking trip? I mean, how often did I contact you? Like, I think you got an email maybe once a month while I was in Asia. How did you feel that first time I left home and was traveling by myself?
So I do remember that time, and I was so grateful for every single email that I got. Because I was concerned for his safety and that I would know where he was, and also that I could experience some of that with him. I did have some concerns. That was my baby going out into the wild world.
And I think it is nice that things are so different today. It is a lot easier to stay connected. And because our family is so used to being gone, I don't think it's been a huge transition for you, other than mostly just being with the grandkids. Before you left, like while you were getting ready, did you have any concerns about traveling with us?
Yes, I was afraid I wouldn't have enough clothes or that I would forget something important about my personal hygiene that I needed. I was worried about my medication, to make sure I don't take very much, but there were a few things that I needed to make sure I had enough of. I was worried that I would have a problem with, because I don't speak other languages, and that I would be able to manage that mostly.
And how has that turned out? Like, have those fears turned out to be reality, or how has it been dealing with those concerns?
So every single thing that I have mentioned has worked out because of preparation, number one, and also just doing it. The first time I came out with them, and I go home every once in a while, I brought too many clothes and too many stuff. So I've learned to not take as much, and that it's okay. And my medication all worked out. So yeah, everything has worked out. I really I just don't have concerns right now.
How hard was it to pack?
The first time that I came out to go to Latin America was very hard. I took at least a week with my suitcase open and putting things in and taking them out and considering it and figuring out what I wanted, contacting you and asking you questions, reading Facebook posts of other travelers, trying to make sure that I was just worried I was going to leave something I really wanted or take too much and my suitcase be too big and too heavy.
So how much luggage do you have? Just so people know what you've brought.
So I have a large roll-on, and I have a small carry-on that is also a rolling luggage.
Yeah. So we have the one big checked bag, and it's pretty big, but it comes in under 50 pounds, and then the carry-on bag. So she has more than we do. Of course, we travel carry-on only, so she does have more stuff than we do, but it's pretty reasonable. I mean, really.
For a woman, I think I did really good.
She did really good. Do you feel like your wardrobe is enough? Like, do you wish you had more stuff? Or like, how has your personal style changed since you've been traveling with us?
So I love to change clothes all the time. So I had these visions of being on the streets of Antigua in a beautiful flowing summer dress. And that has not happened. I do not have that. I have easily taken care of my worries about not being able to change clothes often enough or, to be fashionable. It doesn't matter. I have nice clothes and I'm glad I have them, but I wear them several days in a row. Shoes. Oh my gosh. I love to change shoes all the time. And I love my white shoes. I couldn't bring my white shoes because they wouldn't have ever been good for this trip. But it's okay. I have comfortable shoes that I wear all the time, and I'm glad.
Mm-hmm. You've been traveling with us like for 9 months, and she'll come and be with us for a couple of months, and then she'll go home and kind of see the grandkids and take care of appointments or whatever. So she's not with us like 100% of the time, but months at a time. So is there anything that you can think of that you brought in the beginning that you've now left at home?
Yes, I have left makeup and some hair products that I just don't need. Some articles of clothing that were frivolous. I didn't need that much clothes.
Maybe we should have started with this question, but since you started traveling with us, where have we been? Where have we taken you?
So we went to Latin America. We went to Ecuador first. We did Cuenca for 2 months and then moved on to Mindo and Baños and Quito. And then where did we go after?
See,
Quito?
I know it's hard to remember. So then we came home for a little bit to Vegas, and then we went to Guatemala.
Guatemala City.
We were in Antigua for a month.
Antigua was wonderful.
And Guatemala City.
Guatemala City, and then I came home again. And then we went to Europe, which I have never been in Europe before, and this has been such a great experience. But we started in Portugal, and we saw London, and we've been to Greece, Athens, and Corfu, and we're now in Albania. And we will end up in Paris in spring.
It's going to be nice.
Yes.
And did you ever think you would come to a place like Albania?
it was never on my mind. I never thought I would make it to Europe. So this is such a wonderful experience for my later life. What a wonderful opportunity. Thank you, Rob.
Who's your favorite child?
I can't say that.
Oh, you can say it. You can say it. Sometimes she will tell me that I am her favorite child, and I'm pretty sure she says it to all my brothers and sisters too, but I was hoping I could sneak it in there and get it on video. You're too quick for me.
David's my favorite child.
That actually doesn't surprise me, but of all the places that we've gone, I'm going to ask you the hardest question that I'm going to ask you, Charlie.
I know what you're going to ask.
What is your favorite place?
So this is a question that many, many people ask. It is very difficult for me to pick a favorite. They're unique, and so every place is unique. I do have some favorite apartments that we've stayed in. We're in a really nice one right now. Athens. I loved Athens. I loved Cuenca. I just can't pick a favorite, but there's favorite memories from each place.
Has there been, of all the places we've been, is there any place you didn't like?
No. As far as accommodations, Mindo was sketchy, but I got to see hummingbirds and hold them in my hand, several of them. So I didn't care where I slept. I got to hold hummingbirds.
To be fair, it was a very decent apartment for that area, but she did get up in the middle of the night and step on a cockroach. So I will give that one to her. When you're in the rainforest, yeah, stuff like that happens.
And my bed was totally comfortable, so I'm kind of a spoiled American to say that, I think.
Let's see. Okay, I like this question. What has your experience been with food on this trip?
I've eaten very well. I did lose weight, but that's because of all the physical activity, I think, and because I'm not eating as much. But the food is good. I have loved all the experiences, even home cooking. Thank you, David, for doing all of our cooking. But I do have to say, my favorite will always be hamburgers and French fries. And I want anybody to know that hamburgers out traveling in Europe or in Latin America were like what they show on advertisements. They're thick and juicy, and you see all the insides. They're so good.
We've had some very good hamburgers.
Yes.
Has there been any favorite foods that surprised you, or any local foods?
We had a favorite place in Antigua that we went, the Concepcion, is that how you say it?
La Concepcion, yeah.
Yes. That was such good local food, soups and meat and vegetables. So that stands out in my mind, very good food.
What did you think about in Cuenca when we went to the mercado and they had the pigs laid out? And they just kind of cut up, and we had pork, and there was pork skin, and there was, lettuce and hominy, the corn.
That was one of my very first experiences like that. But the food was delicious, and we went back at my request. We did go back there a couple of times.
You've been pretty adventurous, I think, with the food.
That's good food. So
yeah,
I really like that. If you're enjoying this video, I'd like you to support my son and subscribe to 10 Degrees Warmer.
Right down here, right down here. That's good. Okay, so here's a question that I think people will relate to. What have been your biggest fears about traveling? Like, have you ever felt unsafe?
I don't remember a time of feeling unsafe, but my biggest fears are that I will fall, and I'm older. So a fall could end my life as I know it. It would probably not let me continue traveling. So that's one of my biggest fears. I I have learned to rely on Rob and David. We walk in a formation. David's always in front, usually, and Rob's behind me, so I have a leader and a caboose. And I have realized if that formation gets screwed up now, after so many months of doing it, I get a little anxiety. I need that formation. Because one time I did stumble and fall and hurt myself. I hit my head and was bleeding all over the place. And but I had my support group. David was right there. Rob was right behind me, taking care of me. They got me home quickly. They cleaned me up. Poor David had to wash out my underwear. It was bloody. So I don't really feel afraid. I thought,
Good.
I did think I was going to be afraid of dogs. And I have had no experience where I've been threatened by an animal that I was afraid of. But I was worried about that.
So in Guatemala, there was some protest and political stuff going on. We kind of got, in Guatemala City, we were sort of stuck in our apartment for a couple of days. There was like a week or two where it was just kind of uncertain and nothing ever happened. But how did you feel during that time? I mean, was that scary for you, or was it just kind of boring because we couldn't leave the apartment?
I was not bored. I've never really been bored, but and I wasn't afraid because, again, I had 2 seasoned travelers that have been taking care of me and advising me. I remember in Guatemala City, there's only a couple of places where I've really ventured out by myself. Antigua was one because we were in a gated community, and Rob and David were not worried about me going out and taking my walks. But in Guatemala City, a couple of times I wanted to, and they advised me not to go. So I wasn't as afraid as they were. They're very careful with me, which I appreciate.
And to be clear, I wasn't so much afraid that something would happen to her. We were in a very safe neighborhood. We would just go with her.
I will tell you an experience that happened just recently. We're walking down the promenade here in Saranda, and there's a group of young adult males, and they're wrestling and playing with each other. And we think a fight broke out because it got very loud and boisterous. And 2 of them who were fighting were kind of moved toward where I was. And all of a sudden I hear David say, "Peggy," loudly, to pull me away. I just realize how aware these 2 guys are of me to make sure I don't get involved in anything that could be harmful.
And again, nothing was happening. They were goofing off, but it was just sort of, vicinity, and we didn't want her to get accidentally run into or anything.
There was a lot of testosterone going on right there.
Yes, but nothing scary.
No. When we've come to some challenging places like climbing up a mountain, again, David's in front of me, offering his hand. Robert's behind me, pushing my butt to get me over some chasms or high rocks.
We have taken her on some pretty big hikes. We did really big hikes in Mindo. We're up in the mountains looking for birds. We did a very big hike here in Saranda the other day. It was a group hike. We went with a lot of people and we were just following, and that hike was a lot more adventurous than we anticipated it being. And my mom keeps up. You have always been a very active person.
Yes.
She exercises, she gets steps, but I think we are just a little more aware of making sure, we don't want her to fall and break a hip or an ankle that would mess up the trip. So sometimes we're, I think, overly cautious, but you're really good at keeping up. I think sometimes you have a little fear or anxiety that you're not going to be able to. But I can't think of a single time where halfway through the hike, she's like, "I have to go home. I can't do this anymore."
So I remember one time, where was it that we went up?
Cajas. Oh, in Cajas.
Yes.
Yes.
So it was really, really cold. It was kind of misty. We had on rain gear. It was really cold. Did I mention it was really cold?
It was really cold.
And they went ahead and walked down into the and did a circle around the lake. And I felt it was too much for me. I couldn't do it. I was too cold. And besides, I had a lady there that drove us that was fascinating to me. So I was able to stay up there and have a good conversation with her. While they were gone for a couple of hours, I missed that experience with them, but I wasn't sorry. I don't think I would have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And when they came back and they had had such a great time, and I was so happy for that.
It was a good hike.
But I had had a great time visiting with our driver. She was amazing. So I didn't feel like I missed out on anything, and I was glad that I didn't help them miss out on anything.
So I don't know how much this comes across on video, but in real life, David and I are introverts. Just having each other is enough a lot of the times. Now, in the last year, we have met a lot more people than we have on past trips, because it is fun to meet people who are having the same experience as you are. And so meeting other full-time travelers has been really fun. But we're still introverts. Like, we still spend a lot of time at home. Would you call yourself an introvert?
I am not an introvert. In some ways, maybe I'm nervous in a crowd, that kind of thing, but I love people. And once I meet people, I'm just curious about them. So I can enjoy my time with people. And this trip, this experience has given me some opportunities to meet some really interesting people.
Yeah. How has that worked out with language barrier?
Oh, so I have a really hard time at home in the States. When I go out, even grocery shopping, I'm having a conversation with the checkout lady. But out in foreign speaking countries, I can't do that. So it's muffled me a little bit. And I have a hard time with accents. So an experience we had was we're out on the streets and this man comes up and he recognizes us as American and he's talking to us. And I just, in my mind, he was a foreigner and speaking a different language. And I said, I'm sorry, I only speak English. And he said, I am speaking English to you. I was so embarrassed.
It was hard to understand. It was highly accented, but still it was pretty funny.
I missed a whole opportunity there. He was ready to share.
One of my favorite memories is when we got to Antigua, and everyone speaks Spanish, and we went to an Irish pub for lunch one day, and the waitress was this super bubbly girl who spoke really good English, and you just lit up because it was like, finally someone I can talk to. And she kept that poor waitress at our table for a long time. And I don't think she minded. We were the only people there. But just, I think having that person to talk to, I think that's a difference between us, where you really enjoy that aspect of just meeting new people.
And finding out their life stories. I ask a lot of questions. So yes, that in foreign speaking places, that is something that I miss, is not being able to talk to these interesting people who live a different life than I do, and I wish I could ask them. I've gone to church and been through a whole church meeting in a foreign language, and so that's a new experience for me. I'm comfortable there because I've been in my church in the States. I know what the process is, but couldn't understand what they were saying. So yeah, that's a little bit of a challenge.
What are the challenges of being the lone lady in the group?
Most of the time we've had 2 bathrooms, so I've not had to share a bathroom with them. But during the time when we did only have 1 bathroom, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, I worried that I would take up too much time in the bathroom because I take more time than they do. Or that's about the only thing I can really think of.
And as far as the apartment goes, this has been interesting for us because the whole time we travel, we're always looking at, usually we get studios. We're very happy when we get a 1-bedroom, but traveling with my mom, we've always had a 2-bedroom place.
At least.
And yeah, sometimes we've had 3-bedroom places, which is always a good bonus. We always try and get a place with 2 bathrooms. But there are areas in the world where two bathrooms just aren't common, and we have struggled at times finding a place with two bathrooms. I think we've done it almost every time. Where did we have the one bathroom? Do you remember, David? Athens. It was Athens. We were only there, a week and a half. So, it was manageable, but most of and that was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath place. But usually, yeah, we're able to get our own bedrooms and our own bathrooms, which is really nice. So this is a question for a lot of travelers. David and I we used to travel quickly a lot. I mean, we did a lot of fast travel when we were younger, but now we like to sit down in places. So we spent 2 months in Cuenca, and almost everywhere else we've gone was a month, with a couple of exceptions. Do you prefer the slow travel where we're sitting down for a long time, or do you prefer that faster travel when we're just there for a couple of days or a week?
So I prefer the long stays because I can unpack, be comfortable. But I cannot say that I do not like the short ones because they were like London, where every single night we were in the theater, or Athens, where we did the Parthenon and all the ruins. And so short travel has its reasons why we do it, and it's fun, but I do not mind at all sitting for a month in a place I am familiar with and comfortable, and I appreciate the long stays.
So how do you keep in touch with people back at home? Do you find that people do ask a lot of questions, or do they find this kind of a foreign idea that you're traveling for so long?
So I have a sister who asks me a lot of questions, and another friend that asks me a lot of questions and wants pictures of everything I do. But mostly people just want to know I'm okay. And but I keep track of a lot of people through texting. That's my favorite way. I do email would be my second way to keep in touch with people. But texting, if I lost texting, I would be very sad. I'm so grateful for that, which we didn't have when you first started traveling.
Nope.
We only had email, and it only came once in a while. So
because I had to find an internet cafe that I could send an email from.
yes, yes. And I don't have to worry that because there's always been internet in the places we stay. And that's how I keep in touch with my children, my grandchildren, and friends and family that know that I'm out having an adventure.
I'm just going to read this question. She said, does your age limit you in any way from traveling? Often traveling is viewed as something young people do to explore and find themselves, and older people should be settled down. What do you think about that?
Because I'm a widow, I had no worries about leaving home and having this experience. That was just like a no-brainer. Of course I wanted to do that. My age, again, is worries about my health, that something will happen. So I hope that nothing does happen, but I'm covered if it does. And Robb's a nurse, so I lean on him sometimes when things come up I'm not sure about, and I'll ask him. So I'm grateful for that. But so far, I haven't really felt like my age affects my travel, except for worry that I might be holding these two guys back in any way. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So
You're not.
good.
So this is a cute question. Have you ever had any difficulty in stopping being a mom and just being a travel companion? Is there any difference there for you?
So no, I don't think so. I do still feel like Robb's mom, and David's a mother-in-law. I do that is part of who I am. But I have never felt like they do all the planning. They get all the accommodations. They get all the transportation. And I'm not in charge at all. I am a spoiled mom sitting back and letting them take care of me. So I don't feel like I have to be in charge at all or be a mom in that way. I don't have to discipline them. They're pretty well behaved. So, no, I don't, I am respected as a mother, and I feel that very much, and I'm grateful for that. But I hope I'm not overbearing as some moms can be.
No, not at all. You're a good mom and a good travel companion.
Can I say one more thing that's just come to my mind?
Sure.
So I have had a couple of times while we were traveling where I've had some emotional experiences that made me sad, made me cry, gave me some times of emotional upheaval. And what has been great about Robb and David is they have been there for me every time. If it got so that I needed to talk to somebody, Robb is a life coach, and he knows how to talk to me and how to help me through emotional times. David and Robb have had to suffer through some tears and some feelings of emotional upheaval, and they've been very good about that. So, and sometimes I've been a child or a patient where they've taken care of me.
Oh, I love you, Mom. So this is another interesting question that someone asked. Do you ever feel like a third wheel with me and David?
Yes, there are some times where I feel like I either wish I had a companion with me, so we would be four of us, or where I've worried that I'm always with them and they don't get alone time. So they've talked about, dates to go out with the two of them. And I encourage that. I want them to do that. I don't want to always be in their face when they have they're a couple and they need some of that time. They rarely take it, but I try to give them time too. I'll go in my room and shut the door and I do all the stuff. I read, I do stuff on the internet, I watch movies, I write, I text. So I'm totally occupied, but I'm not right in a room with them where they have to be with me and let them have their conversations and that. So in some ways, I just want to make sure that I don't become a problem that way, because they'll send me home and they'll keep traveling.
We will keep traveling, but we're not sending you home yet. Are there any amenities you miss from home?
Of course, I miss the familiarity of the United States. There's a few, chain restaurants that I miss. Some of my hair products, some of my skin products to keep me as young as possible. But I've let that go happily, and I don't really care. I would rather have the experience than have those luxury items that I'm able to easily have in the United States. I'm a clothes horse. I miss all my clothes. I love going to movie theaters and watching movies. I miss that because I did it a lot. The popcorn and the soda and Brad Pitt. So, but no, this experience is far and beyond anything of that. And there'll come a time, I suppose, that I won't be able to travel anymore for whatever reason. I'll still be able to do that at some time. Mm-hmm. Can I mention one more thing that I miss? Mm-hmm. I miss solo road trips. I love to get into my car and travel, always to a destination, like to see kids or family, nephews and nieces. And I miss that. I miss my car and the freedom that road trips gives me. That is one thing I miss.
We're kind of on the same wavelength, because my next question is, do you ever do things independently without us? It's kind of that same idea.
So on this trip, no, except when we were in Antigua, I was able to go out into the gated community and take walks and be by myself, and I loved it. It was a beautiful area. But I'm a little hesitant to go out on my own in a foreign country. I'm even a little hesitant traveling home when I don't have Robb or David with me, where I'm just going home and they're staying. So So I'm not as independent traveling, being a slow traveler as I am at home.
And one reason for that, maybe we should explain that, is like the month before I called Mom and asked her if she wanted to come travel with us, she got a new phone from her carrier that she's under a 2-year contract with. So because she's locked to that service, it's locked. She can't get a eSIM or a foreign SIM card. So her phone only works on Wi-Fi. And so if she goes out by herself, she has no way of getting in touch with us. And I think that's what makes me nervous, is just knowing she's out there. And if something happened, I wouldn't know about it. And we thought about buying her a new phone that is unlocked, and we've just sort of been going with it. But once that phone gets unlocked from that service again, then we can get her foreign SIM cards, or our eSIM probably. And then I might be a little more comfortable letting you go out on your own, because then if something happened, we could still contact each other.
So, but the thing with that is when we stay a month or more in one place, I finally get used to the directions of how to get to places and that. I forget how to get to places. And without David as my leader, I would probably get lost. So I haven't really missed it here. I'm independent at home and it's fun and I know how to get around and my GPS works well. I can do all that. But out traveling, I'm not sure even if I could that I would, except in Antigua in that gated community.
Okay, here's another question that someone asked that I'm curious to know what your answer is, but do you see any changes in me because of long-term travel?
Yes, it's one of the reasons I was so willing and happy for the opportunity to travel with you. Because, yes, what I have seen is a certain confidence that you have acquired, being able to manage everything. I had no idea what went into the travel plans. Robb and David spend a lot of time researching and deciding where to go and what accommodations and how to get there for the least amount of money and spreadsheets. And Robb has helped me budget my money. So all those ways, a lot, you have gained, you're just comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. And so that gives me a lot of confidence because I can feel that confidence. And I'll bring up something and David will just give me an explanation that makes so much sense. It's like, why didn't I think of that? And it's because they've traveled and they're comfortable with that lifestyle. And the people that they say they're introverts, but the people that they have allowed me to meet and get to know are just the best people. I've totally enjoyed that, where I don't know if you traveled, if you would have that experience. So, or that I would be able to share it with you anyway. Yeah. So, yeah. So changes in you as you have matured, you have grown. I think you have a confidence and you're happy, Robb. You are so happy in life. And what mom wouldn't celebrate that? Of course, he's happy because he has a wonderful companion, but he's happy about what he's doing and the choices he's made as far as that. So
that's kind of nice to hear.
He's definitely not stuck in a job that he doesn't want to do, but
No.
he's stuck. That's not Robb and David.
Yeah. And I'm the favorite.
He's my favorite oldest son.
I guess I'll take that. So since you've been traveling with us, what has changed for you?
So for me, I realized that I do not need a home. I don't need the amenities like that. I don't need things. Before I came traveling, I purged everything. All my furniture, most of my clothes, my beautiful paintings, memorabilia, and I've realized that that's stuff, and it's not as important as experiences. That it makes me a better person, a better grandma, a better mom. I'm having a really good life in my old age that I never thought I would have. I can't believe I just said old age.
Have there been any noticeable cultural differences you've seen in any of the places that we've gone?
Okay, this is one of my favorite things that I have seen. People are so affectionate to each other. Both in Latin America and here, I see families out in public, teenage boys holding the hands of their fathers or their mothers, teenage boys affectionate with each other. That I don't see, that I have not noticed, at least in America. In a restaurant, they give you a little tiny napkin, a little tiny glass of milk, of water, where everything in America is huge, big gulps, and you get everything. That's different.
Are there any products that you're used to having in America that you can't find elsewhere?
Metamucil.
Yeah.
Again, some of my favorite products that I would normally, if I run out, I order from Amazon that's not available here, but not too much.
We kind of mentioned this earlier, but have you had any particular struggles dealing with the language barrier? I mean, other than just not being able to chit chat with people, have you actually had any problems because we couldn't speak the language?
I have not, but I do worry about it in an airport if these two aren't with me, like going home or coming back to meet them. If there's a layover and I have to go through customs or whatever, I have anxiety about it. I have not had an experience yet that was bad because it's all worked out okay, but it's a constant nag on my brain that I won't understand and maybe make a wrong choice or go somewhere I shouldn't go or miss a flight or whatever.
I think this is something that we have learned over the years, is that the language barrier is not usually as bad as you think it's going to be, because once you start, you put a smile on your face, as long as you're smiling, body language goes a really long way. I mean, I've told this story before, but this was years ago. We were in Taiwan and we went to a theater, and there were 3 of us, but we were buying tickets for a bunch of people. We had to explain to this ticket seller who only spoke Mandarin Chinese which show we wanted to see, which date we wanted to go, which performance on that date, how many tickets we needed, where we wanted to sit, what the ticket price we wanted to pay. Like all of that we had to just sort of figure out with no common language between us. And we did, like we figured it out. And once that happened to me, I realized sometimes it's a little bit challenging and it takes extra effort. But as long as you're willing to just be in that moment, people want to help you. In airports especially, almost everyone's going to speak some English. But even if they didn't, they want you to get where you want to go. Like they're not going to not help you or not give you good service. I don't worry about the language barrier anymore because I know we can figure it out. But as a newer traveler, it is still something you're experiencing.
And I have been pleasantly surprised about how many people do speak English, no matter where we go. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the accents are a little harder for me, but the drivers of the Uber rides that we've had mostly speak English. And when we were in Spanish-speaking areas, Robb and David knew enough Spanish that we passed any barriers.
So I'm going to ask this question. I think you've kind of answered it, but maybe I didn't. Someone asked, are we worried about things happening on the road, and what kind of precautions do we take for our health? And I think from my perspective, I do worry. I want to make sure that you're safe. And other than that one scare, which was kind of scary. I mean, luckily I'm a nurse. Thank God I'm a nurse, because when she hit her head and it started bleeding, like it wasn't a big cut. She didn't lose consciousness. Like it was fine, but head wounds just bleed a lot. And there was a lot of blood. So like if I hadn't been a nurse, I think that would have scared me a lot more than it did. But I do have those concerns where it's very important to me that we keep her healthy so she can stay with us. Because, I mean, like you said, if something happens, that could be the end. And might have to go home to get long-term treatment or care or whatever. So, I think that's kind of why I may be a little protective and don't like you going out without me. Because we do kind of, like when we walk down the street, I'm watching her and making sure she doesn't veer into the street or step in a pothole or whatever.
You have no idea how many times I felt his hand on my back, or I'll be going down a steep stair or hill or something, and suddenly I feel his presence beside me to offer his arm or just his body there that will give me confidence so that I won't. Because, yeah, I'm losing a little bit of balance and have trouble going up and down sometimes. So he's very good about that. But so.
I mean, so far, just taking those kind of basic precautions, like we've only had one incident.
Or I'll hear him say, "Slow down, Mom. You don't have to go fast."
Because David and I
I'm
walk
trying to
fast.
keep up with David.
Yeah, sometimes David will take off because we just are fast walkers. You don't have to keep up with him. We can still see him. Go your pace. Because one thing that's really sweet is like it hasn't happened so much here. I think you're getting more used to it, but especially in Latin America, she'd take my hand every time we cross the street. And we just like hold hands, walking across the street. She'd give me little squeezes, but it was just sort of that, precautionary thing to make sure we were together and not gonna get hit by a car.
What mom would not appreciate the fact of her child physically helping her, holding her hand? He holds my hand. He puts his arm around me. He offers his arm. And I don't know why that is so touching to me, but I love it. I just hope that he never worries about people thinking that I'm a cougar and have got this young boyfriend.
That's never crossed my mind. So this is another viewer question, but do you have any recommendations for other moms who might want to travel with their kids?
Be comfortable with traveling with less so that you don't have too much you have to worry about while you're out traveling. Less is better. Find a way, if you have children and you're worried about that, find a way to keep communication with them. It's easy now in our world so that you don't have to worry about losing contact with your grandkids or your children or even your friends. Give up vanity. Don't worry about how you look. Keep a journal because you forget where you are. Take lots of pictures because you forget. You've had great experiences, but you've had so many, you forget. So many times we'll say, where did that happen? Where were we when that happened? So you'll want to record what you're doing. The one thing I have noticed is that almost everywhere we've been, I find out that in that country, if you get hurt, you can go to a hospital or an urgent care or whatever and be treated. That there's good medical care wherever. You can get your eyes checked and get glasses. You can go to the dentist. They might be foreign countries, but they take care of people medically very well. Mm-hmm. I'm less worried about that now that I've been out and seen that and talked to other travelers than I was when I first left. And like in Antigua, I had put myself on one of the Facebook groups. We were in a restaurant and this beautiful lady came up and said, "I recognize you from the Facebook group," and we started talking and we ended up having a couple of meals with her, and I'm in contact with her even now as she travels all over the world solo. She's by herself and it's so fun.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot with this question, but somebody asked, are you single and looking?
So I am single. I'm not looking. I've had a couple of experiences where I have met a gentleman who was seemed interested in me, but I think I'm not really interested in that. So I will tell you, European men are really appealing. I'm happy to be single. If I did go out by myself more to just go for strolls or go have some hot chocolate in a restaurant, I probably would meet people, but it's just not interesting to me. I think it would complicate my travel.
So do you have any silly stories of things that have happened?
So recently, we went out for a walk and went to a grocery store and did some things. And we got home, and I could not find my phone, because usually I wear pants that have a side pocket on the thigh that I stick my phone. Wasn't there. I looked everywhere. I looked in the grocery bags. I looked everywhere. I just told Rob and David, I don't have my phone. And they immediately took off to go back and retrace our steps. And as soon as they were out of shouting distance, because I found my phone, I do have a pocket. It's my bra. And I stick my phone down there sometimes. And I had done that and forgotten I had my phone with me, and those guys went and we're on a high hill, and they go all the way down and all the way back because I couldn't reach them to tell them I had found my phone.
We get to the grocery store, and I'd assume she'd have left it like sitting on the table there, and I'm trying to ask them, but of course my Albanian does not go that far, and people are trying to help, and we're looking for it, and then she texts me. I'm like, she's like, I found my phone.
Oh,
thank you, everyone. She found it.
And they were so sweet when they got back. And I said, I'm so sorry. And they said, that's okay. We needed the extra steps. See how good they are to me. They're so sweet to me.
I thought it was funny. She was afraid we were going to be mad at her, but it made me laugh. The whole time it was on her boob. All right. So do you want to tell people what our travel plans are going forward?
Oh, I cannot believe this, but after we leave here, we're going to another town, the capital city of Albania, Tirana. We'll spend a month there. And then, I don't know if I'll get this right.
We're going to go to Ulcinj for a week. It's a little beach town in Montenegro where my mom's going to have a milestone birthday. So we're going to have to figure something out there.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to Kotor for a month.
So, and I don't know about these countries, or these cities, but I will tell you that in the winter, to go to a beach town, I had no concept what it was going to be like. Albufeira, Portugal, here in Saranda, it's on a beach. Absolutely the best experience. I don't get in the water's too cold, but just being on the beach, it's such a great experience. But then after we do Montenegro and Dubrovnik for a few days, then you guys, we're going to Paris in springtime. I am more than excited about that. And we're going to do Paris Disneyland.
Woo-hoo!
Oh my gosh. So yes, am I looking forward to that? Yes, yes, yes. And then I go home.
And then we haven't worked out after that, but we're kind of thinking about Asia maybe. So I get kind of excited thinking about taking her to like Kuala Lumpur and Chiang Mai and Bali. So we could have a good time over in Asia.
Vietnam.
Yeah, there's lots of good places.
Yeah.
Has traveling with your favorite son brought you closer together?
So when I first got this invitation from Rob and David, I was a little stunned. I was going through a very hard emotional time. And they came and said, let's do this. And I thought, wow. But then I had to ask him, why would you want to take your old mom on your trips? And my son said to me, Mom, I want to make memories with you, which just filled my heart. What a beautiful thing for him to say. And yes, we're making memories. And I'm so grateful for this time. And it has helped me emotionally and mentally and given me confidence. And I am so grateful for that. But just to go places that I never believed I would ever go, or not even believe, I just never thought of it. It just didn't seem like that was going to be something I could ever financially or be able to do. I'm closer to David than I've ever been before. I just love both of these guys, and they have the perfect marriage. They never fight. They work things out. Their motto is on travel days, it's nobody's fault, no matter what happens. And trust me, I've had to lean on that when I left one of our bags under a chair on the bus. But I've just always felt close to Robb. And what I'm realizing now is I'm able to kind of capitalize on some of the sweet connection that we have because I trust him as far as having good life, a good life ethic. And he, like I say, he's just helped me out of a really, really rough time and given me a whole new outlook on being an older mom out having a lifetime experience. So
I love you.
I love you, Robb. And I love David.
I love you. Hi, David. He's behind the camera.
So, Robb, do you feel closer to me, or do you feel you know me any better, or do you feel like this has been a good experience for? Are we making the memories you were hoping we would make?
So 100%, we are making the memories that I was hoping we would make.
Would you recommend for people to take their older parents?
That's a good question. And I know every family is different. And definitely I know people who have said, oh, I could never travel with my mother. And, and that can be legit. Every family has its own dynamics. But for our family, we've kind of fallen into it pretty naturally of, finding a way that works for everybody. But we're still doing what we want to do. We're still going to the places we want to go. And I think having you along has just sort of added to that experience because it is fun. When we went to Guatemala, David and I have been there before, but being able to see a place like that, through your eyes, seeing it for the first time, same with Ecuador, completely different experience being there with you.
But they'd never been to Hobbit Town.
No, we went to the Hobbit Tenango outside of Antigua. So even though, some of the things we've done before, there's always new things to explore and find out. And I think she undersells herself a little bit. I think she would be very capable of traveling by herself. I think you're a very confident, outgoing, friendly person. You make friends very easily because you just have that curious nature about you, which I think is a very big asset to a traveler.
And I will tell you that I'm more willing to ask for directions than these guys are. They figured out on their own, where I'm thinking in my mind, I'm just going to go ask somebody.
She wants to ask people questions like it's crazy. But I think we travel really well together. It's been very easy. And I, can't speak to anybody else what your experience might be like. But for us, this has been wonderful. And yeah, we're talking about extending it even more than we initially had talked about. So because it's going so well. So I'm glad you're with us.
Oh, thank you. Woo!
Anyway, so that's all the questions that we have for today. I hope this has been interesting. If you do have any more questions, this isn't an Ask Me Anything, so I can't guarantee my mom will answer every question. But within reason, if you have more questions, please let us know. Maybe we'll answer them below, or if we get enough, maybe we'll do another video. If you would like to see another video like this, let us know. I mean, at least for the next 3 or 4 months, you're going to be with us. and then probably some more after that is my guess. So David and I, and sometimes my mom, release a new video every Sunday. If you would like to see more content on long-term travel, you can click on one of these links right here.
Today and not tomorrow.